don't know where he is. The son of a bitch is a hit, goddammit!
Oh, doing the pitching for the Tigers. He's the fourth Tiger pitcher. Oh, did he hit him? He did. Look out! Campaneris threw the bat, as you could see, right over the head.
I'll tell you what, they're having a little trouble keeping Billy Martin away from him.
To Campaneris, and
it's unusual. There was not a punch thrown. Everybody went out, and the umpires put a sort of a DMZ.
Hi, I'm Senator Lou D'Alessandro, and I encourage everyone to listen to Matt Connerton, Unleashed, in the afternoon.
Hi, and welcome to the baseball show. We seem to have had some interference there.
A little bit.
Yeah, somebody. We're not supposed to look at the monitor.
Okay.
You remember we were talking about Matt Connerton. Matt's an expert at looking kind of. He always looks like he's addressing you because he knew after like 6 or 7 years exactly how to look at the monitor and the camera. It's uncanny, you know. It's just like when you're making movies, you know. The movie set's the most boring place on earth. Because in the old days, the lighting, because a camera at the film, a photochemical process, to light a scene took forever. Now I guess with digital, you can change things and, you know.
I had to take a peek because the lovely Sabrina fixed my hair before I came over.
You had to take a what?
Huh?
We were talking about, I can't remember what we were talking about now. Hey, I'm not wearing the orange jacket. We were going to discuss today. Uh-oh, we're getting MASH calls again. No, he's not here anymore. Matt Connerton's no longer on the thing. Oh, yeah, if you watch a movie being shot, which being in Los Angeles, you might have seen. When they look at each other, it's all artificial, like sight lines and stuff.
Right.
You look at is it farthest from the camera or closest to the camera? And then they got some midget like me and some dame that's like 5'10", and you know they're standing next to each other. They just pull the focus and, hey, Hollywood, you know.
Yeah, my wife's taller than I am.
But when you take photographs, do they have to pull the focus, or do you have to use what the grips used to have like an orange crate. You know, when you have an Alan Ladd or a Humphrey Bogart.
Yeah, Alan Ladd, yeah.
Alan Ladd. Alan Ladd was never in a baseball movie, was he?
I don't think so.
Hey, we're here. Our subject tonight.
Here's some information.
Folks, I'm still recovering from surgery, and I think you're still recovering from your trip from Los Angeles. Mr. Baseball, 2 weeks ago you left for Los Angeles to see your brother. Why don't you update us?
Well, I had a whirlwind tour out there. I saw 5 of my children.
I'm not sure what you said.
And my brother, of course, spent a lot of time with him. And he's holding on. He's doing well. He's holding steady. Not out of the woods, but he's holding steady.
But you're complaining about, though, the traffic in Los Angeles would be like complaining about, you know, the
It's
smog in Los Angeles, or the...
it's from dawn till dusk. More than dusk, excuse me. Dawn till 10, 11. It's just horrendous.
Mr. Baseball, it's always been that way since I first went out there in '82.
Well, I remember when I could get from point A to point B. And of course I knew the roads and the
You
shortcuts.
knew the roads, and
I was a process server.
Yeah.
And investigator, so.
I was living out there 10 or 11 years ago, and they built a new highway up north.
The 310?
No, it had a 1 in it. 310. And within like a few weeks, it was completely packed and almost like the San Diego freeway. They're like, Los Angeles is not a city, it's a parking lot, you know?
Right.
And it's just incredible how quickly that thing just filled up. People started using it, and it just slowed down to nothing. But you have to give it to them. They built that whole damn thing like in 6 months.
Yes, they did.
Where ever since I came back in January 1st, 2010, they've been widening 293 south. The thing never seems to get any wider. Aren't they going to add a lane? When you
Yes,
say
they are. Yeah.
But they say widening, it's still just 2 lanes on each side.
No, there's going to be another lane.
When was that going to be, about 2024 or something?
I don't know.
When Ivanka Trump's president. Hey, people, James Comey was fired as the FBI director. But since it has nothing to do with baseball, we don't care. Hey, our topic tonight. We have to. I'm going to recut this show. What time is it? We've already blown through 13 minutes.
No, only about 5.
Is everything? They took away our clock, folks.
I've got my
We ought to
watch
go
on.
on strike.
I've got my watch on.
I had to turn off my phone because I'm always getting MASH notes from Matt Connaughton.
Oh, I
He's
turned
no
mine
longer on TV. So tell our audience once again, give out your famous cry. Cri de coeur, the cry of the heart.
At the end?
Yeah, usually at the end. Why don't we do it now?
Do it now?
Yeah.
All right. Mark, have Cindy pour me a beer and have the lovely Sabrina deliver it to me. Please.
And who are these people?
They all work at Billy's Sports.
Billy's
Bar.
Sports Bar.
They're all wonderful people. I love everybody there.
I noticed the last time you were on 2 weeks ago, which technically is a fortnight, you did not mention Sabrina.
I think you mentioned it, and she
I
knows
did.
I love her, so.
I know you're bringing her up now, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
'Cause if
She
you
did
go-
my hair before I left.
And you had yourself a pee, right?
Yeah.
Our subject tonight here's the argument. I believe that these 3 people associated with 1970s baseball, which is when I came into my maturity in baseball, should be in the Hall of Fame. Billy Martin as a manager, Charlie Finley as an owner, and Marvin Miller as the person that probably did more to revolutionize baseball
Absolutely.
since like 1893 when they brought it into 60 feet 6 inches.
Yeah.
And it was 4 balls and 3 strikes.
Right. Right.
Hey, number 4. Can we see video number 4? A little thing about Billy Martin,
Okay.
if we can get
Billy
it
Martin,
going.
Yankees second baseman, steps into the batter's box. Labine gets set. There's the pitch, and Martin drills a hard drive through the box into center field for his 12th base hit. Bauer scores with a winning run to give the New York Yankees the World Series. This final game ends in a 4-3 score. Billy Martin's mighty bat was a strong factor in the Yankee triumph. Along with his 12 hits, Billy wound up with 23 total bases, breaking the 6-game mark set by Babe Ruth in 1923. Dodger Erskine's 14 strikeouts in the 3rd game broke another record. Yes, it was the Golden Anniversary World Series, and it was a golden experience for the baseball fans of America who followed Casey Stengel's drive to his 5th consecutive World Championship. The crowds pour out of the stadium to close a brilliant year of baseball, topped by a star-studded series performance.
Gets away from Munson. It heads for the dugout, misses it, and Perez stops at second. It's a wild pitch charged to Figueroa. Here's the pitch. Like a breaking ball. Thurman tried to backhand it, couldn't find it for a minute.
Every time you throw the curve that breaks away, it bounces the other way, Joe, doesn't it?
Sure does. It's a play you just have to practice in spring training, boy, and you hate it. Lee Wyer's calling time. Bruce Fleming is calling time now at first base. They got some jawing going on.
Yeah, that turned on Munson.
Billy Martin and Fleming. Oh, he threw Martin out. Here we go. Bottom of the 9th inning, and now Fleming is going after with Martin.
Yeah, that was it.
I tell you, I thought in the World Series you had to have a little patience.
Yes, they did.
Something a lot of the Yankee ball players have said, Joe. They're not taking anything away from the American League umpires, but they figure the American League umpires don't want to make it look like they're giving the Yankees any breaks. And so a lot of the close calls have gone against the Yankees.
I didn't see that.
There is Fleming. Gone. Now here comes Billy. You're going to throw me out. You're going to hear my whole speech. And if you could read lips, you know what Fleming said. That was rated X.
Well, Finley's resurfaced, and with him, a new manager.
How far are we going to go? We don't know. But I know one thing. Billy Martin and Charlie Finley will give it hell to go as far as we can.
The volatile Billy Martin is back in Oakland, where he grew up. The A's are his 5th team, and one that should give Billy the Kid quite a challenge in the 80s.
I agree.
He's the greatest manager ever.
He's not the greatest.
Oh, by far the greatest.
How can you say that?
Because every club he managed, 5 of them, he improved all 5 of them.
And he won 1 World Series, 2 pennants, and he got fired all the time.
Well, that's because of his drinking and his fighting, but that doesn't take away from his managing. The Oakland team he took over was under 500 one year.
Yeah, 1980.
Next year, he took that same team almost to the man, well over 500 for the season.
And what did he do to the pitching staff?
I don't remember what he did to them. I thought they improved. He had Ricky Henderson. Told him he was going to steal 90 bases. Henderson thought he was crazy. He stole over 90. And
Charlie Finley actually scouted. You know, he was his own scout. He actually scouted Ricky.
Did he?
Yeah. Who was from Oakland.
Yeah.
An Oakland boy.
I think he and Frank Robinson played together at one time in Oakland. Somebody. But, yeah.
Oh, Billy and Frank Robinson played together. Billy Martin in the Reds, 1960 Reds.
Yes. Yeah. In 60, the Yankees lost to the Pirates. We don't want to touch that one again.
I can't, but, give your reasons. There's going to be more reasons. The greatest manager ever. In your lifetime, Casey Stengel got you seven World Series championships.
Well, there were 8 teams in those days, and the Yankees had the best ball players. I mean, what manager? Something happened in the 56 World Series that will never, ever happen again. 5 different Yankee pitchers. Now, who uses 5 different pitchers to begin with? All pitched a complete game in a row. Ford, Sturdivant, Larson, Turley, who lost 1-0 in 10 innings, and Johnny Cooks, spelled K-U-C-K-S, Cooks, but pronounced Cooks. So where was Stengel? He had the best pitcher in baseball, Whitey Ford. And, oh well. But the Yankees won anyway, so.
Yes.
Yeah.
But how you stack Billy Martin up to a Hall of Famer like Dick Williams, who, remember, but if the commissioner of baseball, Bowie Kuhn, hated Charlie Finley. Everyone knows that.
Yeah.
And we'll have a little stuff about Charlie later on. Dick Williams quit after the '73 World Series, after winning three half pennant. He won the division 3 times.
Right.
71 and then 72, 73. He won 2 World Series, and he quit because of Charlie's George Steinbrenner, before Steinbrenner actually blossomed. That was Steinbrenner's first year as an owner, 73, but George didn't really hit his stride till probably 77. But he interfered directly. He tried to have Mike Andrews thrown off the team.
Well, yeah.
Did he make 2 errors, Mike Andrews?
Yes, and it cost him the game. So he said he was hurt, and he
got a
wasn't going to play.
doctor to say he was hurt, and he wanted him off the roster, and he was willing to play 24 men to 25 for the Mets.
And the commissioner stepped in and said no.
A 7-game World Series.
And that's why Williams quit.
Williams quit.
Because of that situation.
And then Alvin Dark took the team to the 1974 championship against the Dodgers.
Yes, 5 games.
So it reminds me of something I can't remember. It was Ted Kubiak said or something, that the team could have, he was a hanger, he was a utility infielder.
Kubiak?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he said that team, as great as Dick Williams was, he had built it into such a unit that it could have managed itself.
It was a great team. Great team.
But after Dick Williams quit, George Steinbrenner hires him to become the Yankees manager. He suits up, and then, was it Charlie Finley sued over that?
I think so.
Or did Bowie Kuhn step in?
Yeah, I think Williams was still under contract to the Oakland A's. And so they, Finley stopped.
It got voided, the contract.
Right.
So Williams never did manage the Yankees.
No.
And thinking of Dick Williams managing the Yankees in those years, I would say he would have gotten fired because Dick Williams could not get fired.
Oh, I know.
He had a volatile personality. And he was a Marine, ex-Marine, and he expected the people to be like Marines.
Steinbrenner would have fired his own mother as manager.
That led to Billy Martin being hired. But I can't see, since Bob Lemon took the team in '78 after Billy Martin quit, and then he brought him in '81, although not all the way.
Martin didn't quit. He got fired.
No, he resigned. Gene Michael was on his way to fire him, and then he quit.
Oh, so they gave him the ultimatum.
Right.
Yeah, I think you're right about that, actually.
But you can't say that Dick Williams, if Dick Williams had managed the team 75 through, say, 78, he would have matched Billy Martin, wouldn't he?
I think so. The Yankees had a good ball club.
What about Bob Lemon? He was the manager of the year in 1977 for the Chicago White Sox. He came in after all that turmoil. What were the Yankees done? 13 and a half games at the end of June?
Yes.
Yeah, the Time magazine wrote them off.
Yeah, they came all the way back to end in a tie on the final day of the season.
Yeah, and you have the gall to complain about the 1960 World Series.
I'll never get over that.
Jeez, thank God we won 3 World Series. I could never get over 78, 75. At least that was a classic. 67, I was just a tot, 7 years old. But I think Billy Martin should be in the Hall of Fame, but your contention that he's the greatest manager ever is flabbergasts me.
Does it? Oh, well, look at Joe Torre. He's in the Hall of Fame as a manager.
Right, he's
Why?
like the
Because of
5th
the Yankees.
winningest manager in history.
Because of the Yankees. But he got fired by the Mets, the Cardinals, and San Diego because he couldn't put the teams together.
Atlanta, he won a division title. Pretty pitiful Atlanta.
He had a team in '78. Lemon, I'm talking about. Lemon.
Billy Martin was a coach with Minnesota, so he's at the 65 World Series. He's a third base coach, which he used to love to coach third base, even when he was manager. And then he got bumped up in 69, and he won a division title. 97 games, and he got fired.
Oh, I know.
He could not hang on to a job. I say, that farce he had with George Steinbrenner at the end, being rehired constantly.
Five times.
And he was coming back in 1990.
Right, exactly.
You know, it's crazy.
He got killed on Christmas Day.
Do you know that Casey Stengel is no longer in the top 11? I mean, top 10? He's at 11. He won 1,905 games. Joe Torre's the 5th winningest manager in history. 2,326 games.
Okay.
Connie Mack,
Connie Mack.
He was like God, you know, until God retired and didn't talk to anybody.
He couldn't get fired.
Right. You know, Connie Mack was like God. You know, God used to go walking in the garden with Moses, and then by the time we come around, it's only lunatics that see him in like tacos and Marina Del Mar or something.
Yeah, nobody will break Connie Mack's record because owners can't manage anymore.
La Russa won 2,728 games.
He was a good manager.
536. Cox, 2,504, who could never win the big game.
Yeah, La Russa won with Oakland and Cardinals.
Geez, where's Lou Piniella won 1,835 games.
Yeah, he was all over the place.
Think Jim Leland should be in the Hall of Fame?
I don't think so.
Earl Weaver, who has that great 583 winning percentage, only won 1,480, but he knew when to retire.
Yeah. He is in the Hall of Fame, isn't he, Weaver?
Oh, yeah. He got,
that's what I thought.
Pretty quickly, too.
Yeah.
You know, La Russa, Cox, and Torre went in really quickly.
Yeah.
When you think about somebody like the Lip, DeRocher, he took forever. I don't even think he was alive. He was dead a long time when he finally got in.
Was he?
Leo DeRocher. Yeah, I guess gambling and whoring. There's no other way of putting it.
I think 1947 he was suspended for the whole year. That's when Bert Schotten took over the Dodgers and got to the World Series, but the Yankees beat them in the World Series.
Ralph Houk has more wins.
Yeah.
I can't even find Billy. But what about what about him as a player? You must remember him as a player.
Billy Martin?
Yeah.
Very smart player. In the 1953 World Series, George Shuba was at bat, and there was a runner on third. And Charlie Dressen, who managed Martin in Oakland, but not the major league team, the minor league team. And he used the same signs he used in Oakland. Martin picked up the sign, flashed it to Bear, and they had a squeeze on. And, of course, he was out. You know, pitch came in high and tight, so no way he could bunt it. And tagged him out. That's how Martin was. The best sign stealer in baseball, by far.
And a notorious cheat, by the way, too.
Well, what's cheating?
Well, let's see. Well, Billy Martin was born in 1928, 2 years after my parents, and Casey Stengel, who was managing the Oakland Oaks, to the Pacific Coast title. And you have to live in California to realize the Pacific Coast, most Californians consider the major league.
Right.
You know.
I remember that.
Right. And he took, what was his name? Albert Emanuel. He had something. He was Portuguese and Italian, but his mother rechristened him Billy Martin, because Bella, you know,
he had
beautiful or something.
He had a long Italian name.
Right. He got Casey Stengel takes him under his wing, and he's a second baseman, which, you know, when you're an infielder, a second baseman, you're not a shortstop.
Yeah.
Yet again, and he was never hit much, but he was on that Oakland team that got Casey, the Yankees' managerial position.
Right.
And then Casey brought him with him, although he didn't come up till 50.
Right, he came up in 1950.
And Casey loved him. They asked him about, Casey would ask him, if a guy who, you know, say he doesn't hit much, he's not the greatest fielder, although he was a good fielder with good range.
Yeah, he was an all-around tough player.
I think what Stengel said is, if you're talking about a player that never makes a mistake, that's always hustling, and always gets a clutch hit, what is there not to like?
It's like Leo DeRocha said about Eddie Stanky. He can't run, hit, or field. All he can do is beat you.
See, there are people, well, Joe Gordon, who I was surprised you're no fan of, a lot of people considered him that type of player.
I don't dislike him. I just...
You were surprised he was in the Hall of Fame.
I am, and if somebody wins the Triple Crown, they have to be the MVP in my book. How can you... He led the American League in errors the year he was MVP over Williams, who won the Triple Crown.
Oh, come on. We lived in the era of... what's Cal Ripken, who never could make an error because it was his grandmother that's the official scorer. Most people don't realize scorers have nothing to do with Major League Baseball. The team hires them.
Yeah.
So, geez, I mean, a 6'4" shortstop. But if you've got them all pulling for you and you can't make an error.
Marty Marion, Belanger, two tall shortstops.
How tall was Belanger?
He was about 6'4".
He was that tall?
Yeah.
I always think about people like Bert Campanaris.
Oh, yeah. Good.
And,
Chico
Louis Aparicio.
Chico Carrasquel, second baseman, and shortstop, excuse me. Nellie Fox was his second baseman.
Wow, that's a whole story. It was really Ripken, and then 10 years later comes A-Rod that revolutionized, took shortstop back to what it used to be, a hitting position.
Yes.
Yeah, it's strange how positions change. At one time, like the first half of the 20th century, the glove man was at second base rather than shortstop. And then they kind of flip around. Because at the beginning of baseball in the 20th century, your good hitter was a second baseman. It's kind of like Vogue. Like you have like the Nap Lajoies and people like that come up, and Rogers Hornsby. That's a hitting position.
Yes.
Then,
Eddie Collins.
You put the people like that there. Then you got Joe Cronin come up as a shortstop, and he starts slugging. So then you move some of the hitters there.
Yeah.
But I can't agree with you that Billy is the best manager ever.
Hey,
I don't even think he's the best of his generation.
We have our opinions, and that's what makes America go round.
I'd say Earl Weaver was a better manager.
Well, I wouldn't, but...
I'd say he's comparable to Dick Williams. Yeah. But Dick Williams Dick Williams got fired. He got fired in 81, right in the middle of the season, remember?
Yes.
They couldn't stand him.
No, I know.
Bill Lee, who had known him from the 60s, I remember Bill Lee coming to Boston University and telling us, it's the 80s, it's not 1966, where we all had to go in the military service, we all had our crew cuts. Dick Williams is up in Montreal treating everybody like, it's 1958, and we're all at Paris Island.
Drill sergeant.
Right, once the guys start making serious money.
Yeah.
Yeah, Yaz got Dick Williams fired. But he made it to the Hall of Fame, even though he allegedly exposed himself.
I was going to mention that at a hotel.
Yeah, that did keep him out for several years.
Yeah.
But I don't understand why Billy Martin doesn't get more support.
I don't either. I don't know. Maybe because of his being fired so many he got fired everywhere.
But it was a farce at the end with Steinbrenner. Although he had some good records. He would bring, didn't 85 he win 90-some odd games with the Yankees?
Yeah.
Brought him in second.
Yeah, he was a good manager, I think.
The best thing that ever happened to the New York Yankees was when, who was the commissioner that gave the boss a lifetime suspension?
That was...
wasn't Fay Vincent. Was it Fay Vincent?
Fay Vincent, I believe.
Right.
Wasn't
and
Uberoth.
Then Dummy from Milwaukee later let him come back. But
after a year, yeah.
He wasn't the same person.
No.
I mean, Joe Torre had Showalter could never hang, I think. Showalter's hexed, but we won't get into that. He should be a Red Sox manager from the 70s or something.
He hates the Yankees because they got rid of him. But he's got Baltimore up there.
Davey, if Billy Martin is in the Hall of Fame, should Davey Johnson be in the Hall of Fame?
No.
They're comparable in their records. Let's see. Davey Johnson, 1,372 wins, 562 win percentage. Billy's 1253, 553.
Mm-hmm.
Every team that Billy went to, except Texas, though, he won a pennant or half pennant.
Yeah, the division.
That's a rather remarkable record.
It is. And you remember in '67, I think it was '67, that he brought Minnesota.
69.
No, when the Red Sox.
69.
The Red. No.
I know that it's 1969 he took over.
Okay, because I thought he was.
And he got fired.
Maybe he was a coach then. But Minnesota came in, and whoever won the last game of the season, the Red Sox in Minnesota.
Yeah, but that wasn't.
The Red Sox won.
That wasn't. He was on that. He was a coach on the team, but he wasn't managing.
Yeah, okay. I read in his book where he thought they should have won it. Yeah, believe you're right. He was a coach.
Right. He took over in '69, and then he got fired because he had a fist fight with his 20-game winner or something.
Right.
And at the time, he was still young, and he broke the guy's arm.
Boswell, he had a fist fight.
He was a pretty tough. In his time, they called him a tough dago.
Oh yeah.
He was able, when he was a young guy, to break people's eye sockets, break their arms. But by the time he was with the Yankees, he was getting his arm broken. And
you remember the big fight with Clint Courtney?
oh, no, didn't he fight him twice?
I think he did, but Courtney was on the Yankees, and during spring training,
That didn't stop Billy. He fought his own players.
Eddie Lopat was pitching, and Courtney called time. He went out and he said, "Put something on the ball and quit goofing it in." Well, Lopat was a finesse junk pitcher, and so they sent him to St. Louis, the Browns. And first time he slid into second, Martin tagged him right in the face, and it started one of the biggest brawls I've ever seen.
Well, Martin was famous for but they would go sliding into second base to take him out.
Oh, absolutely.
That's the way he played.
Yeah.
But getting 72, his Detroit team won the AL East by half a game because Joe Cronin was too dumb to figure out that teams playing, they had a lockout at the beginning of the season. So and then they started their schedule, and dumb Joe Cronin, who had been Tom Yawkey, brought him to Boston after he took the Washington Senators to a World Series. What, 34?
33.
33. He had married Clark Griffith, the owner's daughter,
yeah.
and then Clark sold him to Tom Yawkey for like $250,000.
Yeah.
Some tremendous price.
Yeah.
And
in that era, yeah.
Then he I think he was the general manager of the Red Sox after Eddie Collins. And then they kicked him, they made him the AL president when that was a real thing.
Well,
and he was an old fart by that time.
Yeah.
But he was always...
Dr. Bobby Brown of the Yankees was an American League president once.
Right, but by that time the leagues were losing their power.
They were.
But Joe Cronin didn't figure... Well, the Detroit played one more game than the Red Sox, so he lost by half a game. And nobody figured that out at the time because Louis Aparicio fell down, going around third, when Yaz had what he thought was an inside-the-park home run. And you dare talk about the 1960 World Series. But 72, Billy won. That's where, and in the playoffs, he had a meltdown when Bert Campaneris threw the bat at one of his pitchers.
That's when Bert was suspended, not for the rest of the playoffs in the World Series, but for the first 10 games of the next season.
And then Billy got fired the next year. Do you remember why? Gaylord Perry. There's a clue. Gaylord was with Cleveland at the time.
Cleveland. I don't remember the incident.
Detroit was playing Cleveland, so Billy had his pitcher and his bullpen load up, throw spitters, and then he bragged about it to the press. So he got fired.
Oh, gosh.
Then he took a year off, and then before Bob Short owned Texas, who took the Senators to Texas? There's another guy named Bob.
It wasn't Short?
Billy got hired by Texas, which had lost almost 100 games.
Right.
He brought him in second with like 85 victories. He might have been manager of the year that year. But the next year, there was a new owner. That might have been Bob Short. And he fired Billy, but Billy at that time was a astute cheater. He had people out in the stands stealing signs.
Well,
he had that A's staff. One of the things about the Oakland A's staff of '81, they were the last I can't remember. One of the guys had 29 complete games. He burned the entire staff out. He had them throwing soap balls and variations of the spitter.
Yeah.
Billy played to win. He came from that type of generation.
Might have been Catfish Hunter that had the 29.
No,
complete
Catfish Hunter was out of, we're talking about 1981.
Oh, 81.
Right. Billy Martin went.
Oh, yeah, Catfish was done. He was actually with the Yankees in 78.
79, too.
He got the final victory in the 78 series, Game 7.
Do you think Billy Martin was mentally ill?
No, he just had a temper, drank, which
He was a terrible
fused
hockey.
his temper, and he drank to excess.
He
was killed on Christmas Day drunk.
Right. Some people say he was driving the truck.
Yeah,
Other people say he wasn't.
Right, that he was a passenger. But they were out in, I don't know where, out in the boonies, and there was a little bar in town about 9-10 miles away. So they drove in and had drinks, and he got killed.
But Sparky Lyle in the Bronx Zoo, writing about that 78 World Series, well, they won. Sparky didn't get in the World Series because he had a problem with his groin. But Sparky talks about just before he resigned, somebody was causing trouble. You know those Yankees teams. You had the A's were always at each other's throats.
Right.
Always
Right.
despised each other. Then Reggie shows up with the New York Yankees, and
I'm the star.
And then
the
Mickey,
straw that stirs the milk.
and if Mickey Rivers was angry or mad, like because Billy said you couldn't play cards during the game, and when he claimed to be injured, he would show his displeasure by loafing. So I think it was Mickey Rivers that insulted him or something. And just before he resigned, he's in the clubhouse yelling at the guys because they're 13 games down. They're defending a World Series title. All that talent.
Right.
Of course, they had a boatload of injuries that year.
They did.
And I think he challenged like Mickey Rivers to a fight, and then he challenged the entire clubhouse to a fight.
No.
But that was Billy, and it's got to be that far, that keeps him out of the Hall of Fame.
I think you're right, and
for sheer talent, I'd say wasn't the greatest ever, but he's close.
Okay, I think the Veterans Committee might get him in sometime.
No Veterans Committee now. They got these newfangled Veterans Committees.
Yeah,
called
I
the
know.
Expansion era.
Yeah.
And to get in by the Veterans Committee, you've got to have your pals on it.
Oh, absolutely.
When Yogi Berra was on, geez,
Yogi.
Well, that's how you get the scooter on.
Yeah.
His pals were on the Veterans Committee that year. Not to say that he doesn't deserve to be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. I just bought a baseball book written by a fan. They did not do their homework because he said in the book that Yogi Berra hit the first pinch hit grand slam in World Series history. Hit the first pinch hit home run in World Series. Wasn't a grand slam, although he hit one later in different series. But then he said the Fred Merkle bonehead play, that Merkle was on second. He was on first and didn't touch second. And that's why he was out on a force. That was back in 1908. I don't know if you're familiar with the story.
Oh, I know.
The bonehead play. And he said it was Merkle was on second. Well, Merkle didn't have to touch third on a single that drove in the winning run, but he had to, from first, had to touch second.
Right.
Or there could be a force out, which there was, which Tinkers ran down the ball somehow, some way. Fans on the field told the umpire to stay there.
But you've got to get the umpire to agree.
And he did.
And in that era, the Baltimore Orioles, the American League franchise, the original one, from 1901 was bought and taken to New York and became the Highlanders.
Right.
And it was bought from Baltimore by one of the great gamblers in New York City history.
Yeah.
Before Abe Rothstein and them. I can't really remember his name. He's an Irishman or something. And they bought the team to gamble. He was a gambler.
Arnold Rothstein.
Right, but Rothstein's is
Right.
18 years later.
Okay.
He's the man who fixed the World Series.
But, yeah, the 1919.
Yeah, he was a famous gambler.
Yeah.
But there was so much gambling in baseball. Hal Chase,
Yeah.
who was the first star along with Jack Chesborough was the first star of the Highlanders, won 41 games.
1904.
And then Hal Chase, the first baseman, probably the most corrupt player ever.
Yeah.
But people like Babe Ruth thought he was a great player.
And there's speculation he fixed games, but they never proved
Who,
it.
Babe?
No, Chase.
Oh, Chase was banned from baseball.
Yeah.
But I think he was banned from baseball because he was involved with some other type
It
of
wasn't an
illegal activity.
official
Right.
banning. It was just a collusion amongst owners and that type of thing.
Well, John McGraw retired soon after somebody told the commissioner that he tried to fix a game.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then I guess who took over? Not Mel Ott, but another player.
Bill Terry?
Bill Terry took over.
Yeah.
Hey, can we see video number 6, please? Since we've talked all about Billy Martin, that I think Red Sox Nation can stand.
Well, how do you answer some of the questions, and then the press brings it up occasionally? They say that only the very rich, in other words, you could buy a pennant. One town could go out, or an owner who's very, very wealthy, and buy all of the best players, and therefore, because of their better financial position, could cripple the other teams. Is there any validity to that at all?
No, John, I don't think so. I think it's all hearsay because Tom Yawkey, who has, I don't know if anyone is more wealthy in baseball than Tom Yawkey. He's been in there about 40 years. He's been trying to buy a world championship for all those years, and he's never been successful in doing it. This is a commissioner saying that I was breaking up my team. In reality, all I was doing was making it stronger for the start of 1977. It's awfully hard to go out and buy ball players. The competition is just too tough.
Do you think that the salaries are getting exorbitant or out of line? Because it's really not the players that set the salaries, is it? When you come right down to it, it's the law of supply and demand. I suppose the superstars, they can command X number of dollars, and if they bring those people into the ballpark...
Johnny, really, the reason for these, in my opinion, astronomical, unjustified salaries for athletes today, it's not the athletes, believe me. It's these stupid owners that go out and offer that kind of money.
Well, now you're an owner.
Yes, I am, but I don't go out throwing my money down the drain like some of the others do, because in the first place, I can't afford it. In the second place, if I did have the money, I think I'd be much smarter than to pour it down the drain that way.
Are the Oakland A's making money?
Well, let me put it this way.
How long have you had the A's now?
This is my 16th year, and I'm happy to tell you that in the 16 years that I've owned the club, we spent a lot of money to produce championship teams. We haven't made any big money, but by spending our money wisely, if I may put it that way, we've been able to stay in the black. Not very much, but we're in the black, and we hope we can stay in the black.
Good.
Yeah, that was Charlie Finley, who won the Oakland who owned the Oakland A's. They won 5 straight pennants, which was a record, then half pennants of the division. The division started in '69, the division series.
Right.
They won the AL West from 71 to 75, and if they had Catfish Hunter in 75, they might have won it again.
Right.
And then we wouldn't have the great World Series with the Reds and the Red Sox, and 3 straight world titles that was only matched by the Yankees of Joe Torre.
The Oakland A's.
Right, we're talking about afterwards.
Yeah,
it
72,
took a long time.
73, and 74.
Right, there was a long time to a team made a three-peat.
Right.
Which was 98 to 2000 with the Yankees.
Yeah.
And then the Yankees won a 4th pennant but blew the World Series.
But the Yankees won 5 straight from 49 to 53.
But winning 3 straight World Series are Charlie Finley's Oakland A's the only team that not the Yankees to do that?
I believe they are.
Because even the Giants under McGraw never won 3 straight.
No.
I don't think they won back-to-back World Series.
Yeah, they won 21 and 22.
21 against the Yankees.
Yeah.
Before the Yankees.
And then the Yankees took them in 23.
Right. Yep, the Babe was mighty and finally prevailed. Because
Yeah.
they had the house that Ruth built in 23.
Absolutely.
They had their own park.
Yeah.
And why isn't Charlie... there's a guy they put in the Hall of Fame. What's his name? Giles, who won the Phillies. They have
Giles,
one world title. He's in the Hall of Fame. Charlie Finley, who we probably wouldn't have the designated hitter, which may be a reason he's not in the Hall of Fame. Here's one of the seminal figures in baseball history. He's not in the Hall of Fame. Yet Bowie
If Giles is in the Hall of Fame, then definitely Finley belongs there.
I don't understand why Giles is in the Hall of Fame.
I don't either.
What did he ever do? Well, he's the first person to pay $1 million salary to Pete Rose.
What was
Although Dave Parker might have got it at the same time.
Parker was he with the Phillies?
Dave Parker, no, with
Pittsburgh Pirates.
Phillies, Giles signed Pete to 5 years, $5 million, and I think Parker parlayed that into $1 million contract.
I see.
Because Rice signed the contract, but he only got $750 for 7 years.
Jeez.
Poor baby.
Oh yeah.
He later became the highest paid baseball player for about a year after that contract.
Yeah.
So it's a good thing Jim is in the Hall of Fame.
I don't know if I could live on $750,000 a year.
Well,
But let me try. I'd like to try.
Charlie Finley, in 1976, there was the Messersmith decision.
Right.
We're not going to get to Marvin Miller, who was the head of the Players Union, who was the Moses that led the players out of bondage, called the Reserve Clause.
Right.
But Marvin Miller, who was a great union guy, an economist for the Steelworkers Union, got certain things put in the collective bargaining agreement, like in '72 after the lockout, and one of them was arbitration.
Right.
Which the owners never thought that would free the slaves when they agreed to it. But it did, because Marvin Miller knew what he was doing. He was a real union guy. And so Andy Messersmith went to arbitration. He had a great year with the Dodgers, and he wanted to get out of his contract. So did Dave McNally. Was he with the Orioles?
Orioles.
And the arbitrator said a 1 year contract's a 1 year contract. Because under a baseball contract, you only signed for 1 year, but it was in perpetuity.
Right.
Every year the owner, the reserve clause, at his pleasure, would renew the contract for whatever amount of money he'd want to give you.
Right.
And you'd have holdouts. When I was a kid, they're always holding out.
Oh, absolutely.
We had the greatest holdout ever was when Drysdale and Sandy Koufax held out.
I remember that so well.
And
I was living in L.A. at the time.
Yeah, before the '66 World Series.
Yeah.
The team had made $4 million that year in profit, and which nobody knew at the time. And they finally gave them, $133,000 apiece?
Something like that. Yeah. And Koufax missed all of spring training.
Right.
And won 27 games.
Yeah. But so they freed the slaves in '76. So everybody's still on their 1 year contract. Because I think only somebody like Bill Veeck gave Dick Allen a long contract because he was such a cantankerous ass. And then he would blow that. He became the highest paid person, like $200,000 a year, and then just hell with this, and winds up in the on the dust heap of history. One person they thought could be a Hall of Famer, but so suddenly Charlie Finley is faced. He's going to lose all his players that he has left, who all hate his guts.
Yeah.
Because he was like a Steinbrenner.
Yeah.
Except he wouldn't pay. Steinbrenner would pay. Charlie Finley wouldn't. Charlie Finley already had lost Catfish Hunter, one of the greatest pitchers of his time.
Absolutely.
Because he didn't pay him an annuity, a $50,000 annuity, and he lost him.
Yeah.
And because Charlie Finley was a rich man from the insurance industry from Chicago, but he always ran his team in the black. He never made much money, but he never lost money. He was pretty thrifty. But suddenly he's faced with losing all these players. So he sells Vida Blue to the New York Yankees for $2 million to George Steinbrenner. Vida Blue, who people thought was going to be a Hall of Famer, one of the few people who win an AL MVP and Cy Young.
Mm-hmm.
And then he sold Joe Rudy, a very fine outfielder, and Raleigh Fingers, one of the greatest relievers ever, to the Red Sox for $1.5 million.
Yeah, he had a fire sale.
And what happens? The commissioner of baseball, Bowie Kuhn, has already fined him numerous times and harassed him.
Stepped in.
And voided these sales.
Right.
Whereas there is a longer clip from that, but it's 5 minutes long, where he talks about he'd spent $300,000 in '71 getting Mike Epstein, and somebody else.
Epstein, huh?
Yeah. Which, remember, Mike was.
He was a mediocre ball player.
Right, but people thought he had greatness or something.
Oh,
it was
really?
like an Alex Johnson type or something. Everybody thought Alex Johnson, but they had head problems or something. But he paid $300,000. I think Tom Yawkey had paid $250,000 for Fergie Jenkins just the year before, and then they unceremoniously ash can Fergie after like a year because he smoked pot and Zimmer didn't like him.
Got caught with it on a plane.
But there were all these sales before. What do you think? Should those sales have gone through?
No.
Why?
They weren't
Charlie Finley said that's the first time in history, which was true, that a sale had ever been voided. And he pointed to Tom Yawkey buying Joe Cronin in 1934 for $250,000. Said that's the equivalent of well over $1 million this year.
It wasn't in the best interests of baseball. That would have loaded the Yankees.
But the Yankees did get loaded.
Well, they got loaded, but if they had Vida Blue, that would have been something, because he was a great pitcher.
Was he?
Oh, yeah.
He didn't have a Hall of Fame career.
He's close.
Was he a lefty?
Yes.
So a lefty in, because I remember Vida Blue when he was with the Giants afterwards, and he won 18 games. But, pitching in Candlestick Park.
I'll give you a little crazy trivia question. Well, I'll give you the answer, actually. Vida Blue is the last switch hitter to win the American League MVP award.
No kidding.
Yeah. He was a switch-hitting pitcher.
He went 18-13 with Oakland in '76, 14-19, led the league in losses with Oakland in '77. Then he went to the Giants, went 18-10, 14-14, 14-10. If he'd gone to the Yankees, he might have had a Hall of Fame career.
Absolutely.
So how did that help him?
It didn't, but it stopped the Yankees from overloading. I'm a diehard Yankee fan, you know
They
that.
picked up Don Gullett.
Yeah, from Cincinnati.
Messersmith.
Yeah.
They both were by God, the real God, not the God that called himself Bowie Kuhn, blew out their arms. Well, Messersmith fell on his shoulder covering first base.
I think he died of leukemia or cancer.
And then he had Ken Holtzman. So it wasn't like they weren't. And then, he's got Sparky Law, the Cy Young winning reliever, and he picks up Goose Gossage in '78. So and then he picks up Reggie Jackson. To say that George Steinbrenner and the Yankees weren't loading up is ridiculous.
They were, but just
It's
to have them
ridiculous.
handed some players from Oakland.
Handed, they're buying.
Holtzman was a good pitcher for the Yankees.
No, not really. He was through.
No, he pitched in the World Series, hit a home run, actually.
Come on, Ken Holtzman was in '78. He barely pitched, and they sent him to the Cubs.
Well, I know that.
But I'm just saying.
At the end of his career, he was.
Steinbrenner already was loading his team up.
Yeah.
See, I think you're completely wrong about that. That destroyed the balance in baseball and set everything akimbo into the 80s and into the 90s, where you have the used car dealer from Milwaukee. I'm taking over as commissioner. We're going to fire Fay Vincent because we got to stick up for the small market teams. And did he do anything to help small market teams?
No.
No, he forced. He's in the Hall of Fame. That piece of expletive deleted. The thing is, Charlie Finley needed that money to reload his team. He could have made the Oakland A's more successful.
Yeah.
But by the time '78 rolled on, they called them the Triple A's.
Yeah.
'78, '79. And they did come back. He was an excellent scout. He scouted all those people like Tony Armas, Ricky Henderson, all those pitchers, Dave Stewart and everything. He was a one-man band. But it took the ability for teams, and like the Twins. Calvin Griffith winds up with nothing for his great player, 7-time batting title winner.
Oh, Carew.
Carew. They wind up with nothing. And so then you get the thing where you get your player for 5 years. Well, excuse me, but players coming into their prime in 5 years.
Right.
So originally free agency was 6 years, and then they got it back to 5 after the '81 strike.
Carew never won another batting champ.
No, he
didn't
never
win.
did.
He didn't win. one with-
Steinbrenner wanted him desperately.
Oh, I believe it.
But he wanted to go, but he couldn't make a deal with Griffith, and he went to another what do you call it? Elephant graveyard. Remember how desperately Gene Autry wanted a championship.
Oh yeah.
He'd get everybody. He would get Bobby Grich, and then who's a great player.
Very
Then he'd
good.
throw his back out, putting an air conditioner into his new home. Then who was it? Lyman Bostic?
Bostic, he was
Got
shot to death.
Oh, it
Yeah.
was terrible. Did
Drive-by.
Larry Heisel go to them? No, he was still with Milwaukee when he got his
Heisel was.
injury.
Yes.
But people would go to the Angels, and terrible things would happen. Rick Burleson.
Yeah.
Blows rotator cuff
Freddie
out.
Lynn.
Well, Freddie Lynn had good years for them.
Yeah.
Then Reggie went.
But the sad part about Autry was he died the year before the Angels won the World Series.
Yeah.
He died in 2001, and they beat the Giants in
Right.
2002. John Lackey pitched the last game of that series.
But the thing is, I think that the Kuhn was completely wrong. Those small market teams, by developing players, being able to sell them, they would have shared with the Lude instead of, all the ball players and their agents. And they would have been able to be a much more competitive balance.
Yeah.
Interestingly, for the 80s, though, there was no dynasty, and the only repeat in the World Series for a generation was Toronto, which was hardly a big market team.
That was 90s.
But after the big strike in the 90s, the big market teams
Yeah,
take
94.
over.
Yeah.
Atlanta,
Yeah.
Yankees, and you have dynasties again.
Yeah.
Because the small market teams really couldn't compete. You develop these players, and then you lose them immediately while they're coming into their prime.
I know.
And
Money.
Yeah, I think so. I will disagree with you. I think that he really screwed baseball up in that way. Hey, we only got a couple minutes left.
It's okay to agree to disagree.
Well, I want you to think about what I said, and we're on the baseball show again. We'll briefly talk about Marvin Miller, the third person in the Troika that's being kept out of the Hall of Fame.
Well,
egregiously, I'd say.
The owners will not vote for him, I'll tell you that. Of course they don't anyway, but...
Well, the baseball writers are idiots.
I mean, he revolutionized baseball.
But we'll just say, we'll talk about him another. But Charlie Finley should be in the Hall of Fame. DH, night games, the World Series.
Orange baseball.
Never did get the orange baseball.
No, he didn't.
Never did get the orange baseball.
He tried.
All right. Thank you for being at the baseball. Why don't you give your spiel? Look, the camera on Mr. Baseball. Look in that camera and say goodbye as only you can.
Mark, have Cindy pour me a beer, please. And have the lovely Sabrina deliver it to me. At Billy's Sports Bar. I'll see you in a few.
And we'll see you next week. Take care.
Take care.